Hello, in this video I will show you how to remove and maybe replace or repair the gearbox or the transmission on Volkswagen Passat 6 1.6 TDI. The transmission on this car is located on the side of the engine, just underneath the air filter housing and the battery housing. So in order to get to the transmission we need to remove the air filter housing and the battery housing. After remove the battery housing and the air filter housing, next we're going to be removing the starter motor. The starter motor is located right there on the front of the engine. It's held by two bolts, and then we need to remove the power cable and the solenoid cable. The solenoid cable is a connector, so we need to remove that connector. Then we're going to remove the nut for the power cable. Also, we're going to remove the nut for the ground cable, which is on the upper bolt of the starter motor. If the video is useful, please like and comment on the video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. That's the power cable removed. Now we're going to remove the nut for the ground cable that's on the top bolt of the starter motor. And now we have access to the upper bolt of the starter motor. Now we're going to remove that as well. That's the upper bolt out. Next we're going to go underneath the car and remove the lower bolt. First we have to remove the engine under tray. I already removed it. And as the starter motor right there, first we're going to remove this nut holding this metal plate. And after we remove the nut, we're going to remove the lower bolt of the starter motor. And now that the bolt is removed, we can take out the starter motor, and that's the starter motor out. Next we're going to detach the gear links from the transmission. This upper gear link, there is two clips on the two sides. We need to push them in with pliers, and then with a pry bar you just need to pry out the gear link like that. And that's one of the gear links out. Next we're going to remove the other gear link. It's held by a metal clip. We need to remove the metal clip, just pull it forward, pull it out, and then we take out the gear link. That's the metal clip right there. We need to pull that out and then it will unlock, and that's the gear link out. Next we're going to remove the 3 bolts holding the gear link unit. 1, 2 and third one is at the back right there. We need to remove them and then put the gear link unit to the side. Next we're going to remove this metal plate. It's held by 2 bolts, and afterwards we're going to remove the brake fluid line for the clutch. That's the metal plate out. Now we're going to remove the brake fluid line for the clutch. First we're going to use locking pliers to stop the brake fluid from dripping when we remove the brake fluid line. And to remove the brake fluid line from the slave cylinder, there is a metal clip that we need to pull up, and we just pull out the brake fluid line. Next we're going to start disassembling everything underneath the car. First we start with the wheels. Next we need to remove the drive axle on the left drive axle. In order to remove it, that's the gearbox right there. In order to remove the drive axle, there is 6 bolts holding it to the transmission and 1 bolt holding it to the wheel hub, and also we need to remove those 3 bolts for the ball joint. That's the bolt on the front, and that's the 6 bolts on the rear that we need to remove. And it's the same on the other side, except we don't need to remove the bolt for this bolt right there holding the wheel hub, because we don't need to take the drive axle out completely. First, now we're going to remove the bolts holding the lower side of the wheel arch liner, because it's in our way. Next, we're going to remove the bolt for the left drive axle, and now we're going to remove the 6 bolts holding the drive axle to the transmission. In order to stop the drive axle from turning, we're going to put a screwdriver in the brake disc right there, and this way the drive axle is not going to be turning when we try to loosen the bolts. When you loosen 1 or 2 bolts, just remove the screwdriver, turn the drive axle and start loosening the rest of the bolts. And afterwards you can, after loosening all the bolts, you can, I use an electric ratchet to remove them faster. And that's the 6 bolts removed. Next we're going to remove the 3 bolts holding the ball joint, and then afterwards take out the drive axle. And that's the drive axle out. Next we're going to remove the 6 bolts holding the right drive axle. We're again going to put a screwdriver in there, in the brake disc, to prevent the drive axle from turning. And now we're going to loosen the 6 bolts, and then again use electric ratchet to remove the bolts. Like I said before, we don't need to remove this drive axle completely. We only need to remove it from the transmission and just maybe pull it out a little bit, and that's it, but we don't need to remove it completely. Next we're going to remove the 3 bolts for the ball joint, and then move the whole wheel hub assembly towards out. Next we're going to remove those 3 bolts for the rear engine mount. That's the engine mount support, 1, 2, and the third one is on the engine mount. We're going to remove them and remove this metal plate. Now that we've almost disassembled everything on the rear, next we need to put a jack ready to hold the engine before we start removing the transmission. Now that the engine is hanging onto this jack, next we're going to remove the engine mount or the transmission mount, which is on this side. Before removing the transmission mount, there is a plastic panel that we need to remove. That's all the wiring harness is held on that. We're going to remove the plastic panel, and then we're going to start removing the transmission mount. And that's the plastic panel out. Now we have access to the transmission mount. The transmission mount is held by 6 bolts, 2 right there, 2 right there, and another 2 on the rear. Now we're going to remove the bolts and take out the transmission mount. And that's the transmission mount out. There is a couple of electrical connectors on the front that we need to remove, and also we need to remove this engine mount support, but we need to remove it from underneath the car because the bolts are right there, right underneath the car. In order to remove that engine mount support, first we need to bring the whole engine down with the jack like that. Before going underneath the car again, there is 2 more bolts that we need to remove that hold the transmission to the engine. The bolts are right there. After we remove those bolts, then there is nothing else left to be removed on top. And that's the 2 bolts holding the transmission to the engine on top removed. Next we're going to put a rope on this gear link unit and just bring it up so that it's not in our way when we try to remove the transmission. Next we need to remove the bolts holding the engine mount support. The engine mount support is right there. It's held by 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3 bolts. Now the only thing left before removing the gearbox is removing those bolts that I'm showing you right now that hold the transmission to the engine. 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts we need to remove, and then we can take out the transmission. Before removing the last bolt holding the transmission to the engine, make sure you put underneath the transmission a transmission jack so that it holds it when we remove all the bolts. And that's the last bolt that we're going to remove. The transmission jack is underneath, and now we're going to wiggle the transmission and it will come out. And that's the transmission out. That's the clutch right there. To remove the clutch, it's held by 6 bolts. These are the bolts right there. And that's the transmission right there. Next I'm going to show you how to put it back on the car. I'm going to time-lapse the video just so that you can see it clearly how I put the gearbox back on the engine. When you put on the transmission, it's much easier when there is 2 people doing it. Use the transmission jack again to lift up the transmission, and the side that's pointing towards the drive axle, make sure you put it upwards. Put it in first, and then the whole transmission will go in all the way. After the transmission goes in its place, then we can put on the bolts, put one on the rear side and one on the front side when they're in their exact position, and try to tighten them, and then the transmission will go in all the way. In my case, the transmission is in all the way, so now we're going to put on all the bolts and assemble everything else in the reverse order afterwards. Hopefully the video was helpful. Please like and comment on the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.